In the early hours of Tuesday, March 26, 2024, a container ship registered under Singapore MV Dali smashed into and destroyed the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, tragically taking lives of 6 construction crew working on the bridge, as well as a road maintenance worker who was unable to escape in time. Looking into this video, MV Dali suffered a sudden power loss with the light staying off as it is moving towards a major bridge in Baltimore for almost 60 seconds. Both the main and backup generators lost power, shutting down the ship's propulsion and steering systems. For a moment, the ship was lit again, and at this moment, dark smoke began to rise from the vessel. However, the ship lost power again for just over 30 seconds. The tracking video of the ship shows how the ship moves off its planned course. At 1:29 a.m., the ship hits one of the main support piers of the bridge. The force of the impact was immense and caused a chain reaction, leading to the immediate and catastrophic failure of the bridge steel truss structure. The collapsed steel, asphalt, and concrete completely blocked the shipping channel, forcing the closure of Port of Baltimore.
This tragic event has since raised serious questions about the safety management of ship operation. According to the report from National Transportation Safety Board, 10 hours before the accident, the ship experienced an electrical power failure at the Port of Baltimore due to a crew member mistakenly closing an engine exhaust, blocking the exhaust path. Although the power was restored and allowed to continue for departure, this early failure had raised the serious question about the reliability of its electrical system, non-comply with the ISM code temper, and inspection error, since second blackout is due to an insufficient fuel pressure in a different generator. From this table, we can see that the MV Dali is classed by the Classification Society class Nippon Kaiji Kyokai. Records show that the vessel had passed port state control inspection twice in 2023 in June and September, with only one issue reported, that a faulty fuel gauge, which was corrected on 27 June inspection. In this case, the report showed that the MV Dali complied with SOLAS and macro regulation. It is equipped with a compliant JRC JCY 1900 voyage data recorder system in accordance with the SOLAS Chapter 5 Regulation 20. And it also have used the low sulfur marine gas oil upon entering the US water, which is in compliance with the Macro Annex 6. Additionally, in this case, we can see that the crew members were well trained and familiar with emergency protocol in accordance with the ISM code and SOLAS Chapter 2 by carrying out manual breaker reset, activated emergency generator after the electrical failure, call for tug assisted, and drop the anchor to slow the vessel. However, the lack of adequate system redundancy constitutes a violation of SOLAS Chapter 2 Part 1 Regulation 42. Despite the anchor being deployed, the ship continued drifting at a speed of 8 knots, which indicates the early preventive measure had already failed.
For the protection, the investigation report shows that all crew members were in compliance with SOLAS Regulation Chapter 11 Part 1 and US Coast Guard requirements, with drug and alcohol test results returning negative. Furthermore, the report confirms that none of the vessel's dedicated fuel tanks were damaged, and there was no leakage of fuel or hazardous materials from onboard containers. However, explosives were later used to demolish the collapsed span of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which had become lodged on top of the MV Dali. Upon freeing the vessels, the controlled demolition shattered the largest span of the bridge, resting on Dali's bow, allowing debris to fall into the Patapsco River, thus creating significant debris and structural pollution, posing physical hazards to marine life. Fish and aquatic mammals could become trapped, injured, or crushed by the massive amount of steel, concrete, and other materials that fell into the Patapsco River. In addition, firefighting and cleanup agents used during the response efforts may cause chemical pollution, potentially harming aquatic organisms and persisting in the ecosystem. This could lead to bioaccumulation and long-term health effects through the food chain.
Next up, we'll look into the actions to manage the risk. Before the collision, the crew of the MV Dali sent a mayday call reporting a total loss of power and steering control. The mayday call provided the authorities just enough time to stop bridge traffic and likely prevent more deaths. But it was not enough time to evacuate the construction crew working on the bridge. Other than that, the crew called for tug assistance and attempted to drop the anchor as emergency measures to slow or stop the vessel after losing propulsion and steering control. After the collision, the National Transportation Safety Board recovered the data covering the hours before the incident, including the moment of electrical failure, the manual breaker reset attempts, the emergency generator activation, and radio communications with tugboats and port authorities. Notably, it captured the events during the final 10 minutes before the collision, including the emergency calls for anchor deployment and the mayday call. Moreover, in order to reduce the financial risk, Grace Ocean Private and Synergy Marine filed a petition in US federal court to limit liability to US dollars 43 to 44 million under maritime law. They later settled with the US government for about US dollar 102 million to cover the cleanup and restoration costs, while still facing separate claims from Marineland for bridge repairs and from the victims.
For the recommendation to enhance maritime safety, 3 key measures are recommended. First, in high-risk navigational zones, all large vessels, especially those over 10,000 TEU, should be mandated to have tugboat assistance when departing or arriving at ports near critical infrastructures such as bridges. Tugboats can intervene immediately in case of power loss or steering failure to correct its course or slow down the vessel, reducing the risk of collisions, especially in busy or narrow channels. Second, all large commercial vessels should be equipped with dual redundant power systems to maintain rudder and engine control, alongside emergency steering mechanisms that activate immediately if the main systems fail. This should be complemented by automated engine diagnostics and alert systems that can detect faults before they lead to blackout. By observing vital indicators such as oil pressure, temperature, and fuel consumption, the crew can take early action to prevent breakdowns and reduce maintenance costs. While constant tracking of the vessel positions, speed, and course help ensure safe navigation and avoid collisions, grounding, or drifting off course.
In conclusion, the collision of the MV Dali with the Francisco Key Bridge on March 26, 2014 was primarily caused by an electrical power failure which occurred twice shortly before the incident. Additionally, approximately 10 hours before the collision, the ship had also experienced a separate electrical power failure. Despite this, most safety protocols were in compliance with SOLAS and MAPRO regulation. This included the installation of a voyage data recorder, appropriate crew response to the emergency, negative alcohol and drug tests among the crew members, and the successful prevention of fuel or hazardous cargo leak. However, the collapse of the Francisco Key Bridge still resulted in significant structural damage, environmental consequences, chemical contamination from fire suspension, and potential bioaccumulation risks in the marine food chain. Before the collision, the crew had took several actions to reduce the impact of incident, including issuing a mayday call, requesting the tug assistance, and deploying the anchor. Following the accident, the National Transportation Safety Board have recovered the data from the vessel that covered the hour leading up to the collision. To enhance the future marine safety and prevent similar incidents, it is recommended to implement mandatory tugboat escort, upgrade the shipboard redundancy and emergency power system, and introduce the continuous vessel monitoring. These measures are important for protecting the human life and preserving the marine environment.